Well, we were in the middle of a really good debate about the D-line, and now we've kind of lost our momentum because we lost our building lost internet for about 5 minutes, and so we were knocked off the air, and now we are back. But let's put a bow on this topic because I think we've debated it enough. We know where everybody stands. You want them to sign a veteran right away. The names that Mike put up. Mike, put those names. Can you put those names back up or no? So you got Ioannidis. Earl mentioned Robert Quinn.
We're not dealing with Clowney. It was
no Clowney. Nobody wants Clowney.
There's a decision on Clowney. There's a couple. Melvin Ingram. Hey,
he played for what? Baltimore last year
or Pittsburgh?
Miami.
Oh, Miami. Okay.
Oh, right. He went to Miami. That's right.
I don't got a problem with either one of those dudes. Now here's another thing too.
Yeah.
If those guys don't want to come to camp, I wouldn't be mad if they just told them, "Hey, stay in shape.
Right,
We'll bring you in September early. You got a week to get ready." So, and that's why my panic isn't that high because I know what they want to do up front, and I understand that it don't take much for guys to get ready up front if you just gonna have them rush the passer.
I just think in the end, guys, I trust Jim Schwartz enough that I think that maybe obviously you guys, especially you all, think Alex Wright's going to be better than I do. I think he's got a lot to prove. But let's say he's going to become a solid fourth pass rusher. Mm-hmm. I trust Jim Schwartz enough to say he can make a solid fourth pass rusher out of the guys he's got or some other guy. That's why I'm not worried about it.
So fair enough on that point.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, this is a good opportunity for a rookie like Isaiah McGuire to get in there. I think before we lost internet, Mike was giving us the numbers that the third and fourth pass rusher in Jim Schwartz's scheme plays a significant amount of snaps.
He has in the past, doesn't necessarily
mean something like 300 to 400 snaps, right?
And traditionally, fourth pass rusher on those teams were in the 300s.
Right. And traditionally, that's how it goes. So a guy like Isaiah McGuire, who's a rookie under Jim Schwartz's mentorship, and then you got guys in the locker room like Za'Darius Smith and Myles Garrett. This is an opportunity for him to really put on display. Like, hey, I'm him. You know what I mean?
Grab a position.
So grab a position and see what it does. But I felt like that Alex Wright was going to be a significant part of that group and a part of the rotation simply because of what I seen towards the end of last year and just how much that this was the one guy. If you go back to last year's draft, that everybody had a consensus on. This was the one guy that everybody said that they agreed on in the entire building. Mm-hmm. So knowing that everybody wanted him, they're going to give him every opportunity to shine. You talked about Coach setting up Anthony Schwartz, right? Yep. Coach was going to set up Alex Wright to shine, and hopefully, this is not a injury that makes him miss a significant amount of time outside of maybe the first couple weeks of the season. But who knows how it would turn out? I just feel like when you lose those depth rotational pieces to what you have going on, and you got to replace that with guys off the street. It can be a learning curve, and that can have an impact.
Sure, and I think it's a bigger deal in season, but I think there's still so much time now before the season starts. Yeah. In terms of what the coaches and GMs say, to me, that's meaningless because if they're never going to say anything negative, well, of course they're going to say positive things about a guy. But anyway, I think Melvin Ingram of those guys makes the most sense. He actually had 6 sacks last year. He had a pretty productive season. Ioannidis, he hasn't been very productive in 3-4 years.
I would take. I favor Melvin Ingram too.
Yeah. Give me Robert Quinn, man.
I don't got a problem with him either.
Is Robert Quinn not a free agent? Is that why you didn't put him up there, or?
No, I just wanted to put G. Bush up there. I really just wanted to add G. Bush to that. Producer's choice.
You got no snaps?
No.
I just think when Robert Quinn was in Dallas, he played with the defensive line coach that's here now, Brent Bloom.
He might have prayed with him too.
He's won the Super Bowl with the Rams. This is a veteran, got championship experience.
Bring them both in.
To me, now this position, to me, I'm more scared about this one than those two. Yesterday,
I know you're going.
Jerome Ford comes up with the hamstring injury, and so these guys, okay, they'll get. Say it's a scope. I know it ain't no torn ACL. I know it's either a meniscus or something where they got to clean it up. That's 4 to 6 weeks. I've had 10 of those, right? I know what it is. As long as they can get the swelling out, that's cool, and they can start gradually getting back to work. However, Jerome Ford, I'll just throw this out here. Jerome Ford with the hamstring, I don't like skill position guys with the hamstrings. Them things, if you get it in camp, the only thing that you can do with a hamstring is rest it. He's going to be counted on to get carries behind Nick Chubb. You don't even want to give Nick Chubb those carries. Now it's time where I might have to actually say, okay, do I need to look at a running back? Which I've said no before, but if this persists, I might have to call Zeke or something.
I would. Soft tissue injuries, those are things that linger all season long. And I know there's a lot of people who had a lot of faith in what he was able to bring to the table this year. And the injury might not even be significant. I just think it's a thing that might plague him for a little while. And then, especially like with it being a preseason, you still going through camp, you don't want to start going down running backs to where you putting unnecessary usage on Chubb. And they probably won't do that anyway.
No,
they'll just keep bringing in camp bodies.
Yeah.
But
I think I'd rather them go with young guys. I don't want Zeke here. He's used to being a starter. I don't know what kind. If he's only getting 8 carries a game, he may be an unhappy camper. I just don't think he's the right fit at this point.
Well, Big Nuggets, go ahead real quick before we get into a deep, drawn-out conversation.
Yeah, no, we asked the YouTube chat who was right on the is it a big deal, is it not a big deal situation. Whenever we ask the YouTube chat, you know who it's brought to us by. It's brought to us by our dear friends over at PCC Air Force. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Air Force is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Air Force in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. The poll cut off, unfortunately, when we lost internet. So I'm going to give you the last numbers we had. 89% said G and Earl Wright. 11% on Team Bull.
People have been scarred here. You've been scarred by too much losing. That's the problem.
And with that, we're going to move on. We got a couple things we got to hit a little quickly now because we lost a few minutes, but we are continuing our 32 and 32 series. Next up on the 32 most important players for the Browns is Siaki Ika, who's a little higher on this discombobulated list due to some clerical errors on our end last week. But Siaki Ika, potentially the second starting defensive tackle for the Browns alongside Dalvin Tomlinson. Earl, I want to start with you. What are you expecting?
Wait, what number is he?
What number was he really, or what number is he now?
What number was he supposed to be?
28.
And can you tell me who 29 and 30 were, please, just so I have a background?
Conklin, Jordan Akins, and Cedric Tillman.
Okay.
Bull really hates this list.
Siaki Ika is more important than the starting right tackle? That's what you're telling me?
I think so, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead, Earl.
Earl does too.
Because
you had him higher on the list too.
Because the Browns have such a good track record of drafting defensive tackles. Those
but I
guys
think that's why he's important. At least here, I'll start then.
Why is he important?
No. What was the question? I didn't hear the question.
You think Sione or whatever? What round was he drafted, by the way?
Third round.
All I heard was, Earl, I'll start with you. What was the question?
Ika.
What about
him? What is his impact?
You think he's more important than Jack? Do you think he's more important than Jack Conklin? Ika?
No. But I would have had Conklin higher.
No, so I put him. I think he is because he plays. I think he plays a position that's overall weak for the Cleveland Browns.
But we don't know if he's going to start.
We don't know if he's going to start or not. But
we know Jack Conklin's going to start.
Yeah, but I just think he's more important because of the defensive tackle position being so weak for the Cleveland Browns. And so he was drafted. A third-round pick to me is a guy that's a starter or your first rotational piece.
How have they done with their third-round pick so far?
They have not done great. They have not done great at all. But, I mean, hopefully he can step in and help in the run defense. Hopefully he can, create some double teams and do what he have to do in the interior to create one-on-ones for those edge rushers. But big dude, athletic dude, seems like he's a guy that, kind of fits what Jim Schwartz likes to do. So hopefully he's one of those guys. We have not hit on third-round picks a lot, but he seems like he's going to be a player. I know he's had a decent camp so far. And I know we can't buy too much into that, but it'd be interesting to see him. I think most of the guys should play this Friday against the Commanders. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see him in the game.
What's the matter?
Can I piggyback off Earl real quick and just add one more thing to that before you guys go? Because I know you're going to disagree.
Yeah.
The Browns were so putrid at stopping the run last year that having a guy like Ika with his size, even if he's not good, demands at least two guys to pay attention on the offensive line.
Wrong. Because, first of all, I don't think he's going to start. Jay, let me ask you a question. You
don't think he starts?
No, I don't think so. Do you we were talking about defensive ends. You said, it's hard for defensive ends to make an impact right away as a rookie, correct?
Yeah.
Isn't it even harder for a defensive tackle to make an impact right away?
Yeah, it is, but
How often do you hear about rookie defensive tackles having a big rookie season?
not very much.
Right.
But when you look at it, if you're the only rookie that's getting significant minutes amongst guys that are all pro candidates, then it makes your job a lot easier, right?
I agree with that. That's true. But defensive tackles almost always take time to develop. Even the best ones take time. And and maybe he is going to start. Maybe I'm crazy. But I would think that the two veterans they brought in, whose, of course, names are escaping me right now, to get the guy
Tristan Hill, who's already hurt.
The guy from the
and
Niners
Mo
has
Hurst.
been hurt the last 2 years.
Mo Hurst.
Mo Hurst. Like, that guy, his first 2 years in the league was actually really good.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty good as a rookie. I would think if he's healthy, he's going to be a starter.
I'll go to this. I don't know if you guys missed it. This was, I think Cleveland.com had this. And I don't know if it's on the internet, so I don't know if you can pull it up, but he had a really good play in the scrimmage.
Hurst or Ika?
Ika.
Oh.
He pretty much was the reason why they stopped him on fourth down.
Yeah.
He was getting double teamed, and he just knocked the guard in the backfield. The other guy had no angle to kind of down block on him. He not only did that, he locked out, he got Rashed the blocker, and was in on the tackle on a fourth down and won. And it just goes to show you the low center of gravity and the way that they want to play up front. With a guy that big, he's gonna play some significant snaps. The goal for the Browns is to their platoon up front is like people have when you watch the A-Team, right? The A-Team had with Mr. T, and everybody had a specific skill set.
But they never killed anybody on that show.
They never
All
did.
they did was shoot a tire.
That's it.
Why were they always shooting at tires?
It was like they never really killed no bad guys.
Mr. T would beat everybody up. But like if they made that show now, there'd be a lot of killing.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
But A-Team, everybody had an explosive guy. They had a muscle guy that just fought. They had the pilot, right?
Yeah.
He was always getting them. Let's get us out of here.
Yeah.
So that's what they want to do up front. Siaki Ika is what I call he's the bulldozer. He's the guy that when you need to move a lot of earth, you got to get the dump truck.
Yeah.
You put him up there. He ain't gonna rush the passer that much, but if you just tell him to get going, get that 340 some odd pounds moving that way, I know that's kind of hard to stop. So I think he's going to be a part of the run game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like what he did. I thought I saw some stuff.
He's definitely a part of the run game. I'm looking at the defensive tackle list now. I'm on a Cleveland Browns app. Tristan Hill is hurt. Maurice Hurst, he's a really good player when he's healthy. Not sure. We all know Tommy Togiai probably won't make this team. I can't see Jordan Elliott starting. Dalvin Tomlinson is 325 pounds. Siaki Ika is 358 pounds.
Yeah,
right?
we all forgot about Elliott. Wasn't he the projected starter initially?
I think he was. I think he was.
But he was playing in a Hall of Fame game.
Right.
So
that's crazy.
That says a lot.
I'm looking at
If you're
this.
a non-rookie playing in the Hall of Fame game, that's not good.
Him and Anthony Schwartz were playing to the very end.
I'm looking at this, and I'm wondering, like, will who stars depend on what type of package they come out in, right?
Well, that's true.
And the team they're going against. If they're going against a run-heavy team,
if Ika plays significant snaps at defensive tackle, then yeah, he's an important player, sure, no doubt.
I just think, and we'll move on to the
I just would
last
put
thing.
the starting right tackle ahead of him.
Fair. Let's move
DeJuan
on
Jones
here.
keep playing like that, man. We might have to have a conversation.
Or should DeJuan Jones be playing left tackle?
That's another
conversation.
Let's see him do it for more than one game against.
If Jack Conklin's healthy, I think he's better than
he is.
Jedrick Wills.
I agree.
Now,
look at us agreeing. Look at us agreeing.
The other day, Mary Kay came out and said that Bill Callahan was giving Jed Wills some praise. I think what he was doing is he was saving his mental aspect. Like, because you got to think about it. People, their natural perception is we're hard on Jed Wills.
Yeah.
And so Bill Callahan has to build him up a little more because when you got to do like oh boy, DeJuan Jones is caving down the whole side of the line.
Yeah.
Like this, I mean, you can't teach size and strength. and footwork. So now he has to kind of be like,
Yeah.
all right, let's pump our brakes. We don't want to pump the wind up too crazy.
Right.
Jed is making some steps.
What
But
did
I got a
you want to
question.
play left or right tackle in college?
right.
He played right. I got a
Okay,
question.
So maybe he can't play left.
Because I
don't think he's a left tackle.
he exceeded everybody's expectations of his play, right? And I know we can't take too much out of preseason, but let's say the game against Philadelphia, if he plays a significant amount of time,
Yeah.
and a game this week against the Commanders, who's probably going to play some of their starters in the first quarter, who has a damn good defensive line.
Right.
If he can hold his own and he played the way that he played in the Hall of Fame game, do you think that we changed how we look at him playing this year? Because remember when he was first drafted, a lot of us were saying he'll probably ride the bench a lot,
Yeah.
probably won't see significant time. But if he continues to play like he played in the Hall of Fame game, does that change the narrative?
I mean, I think in the end, if Jack Conklin's healthy, they just sign him to extension. He's going to play.
He's gonna play.
It does, and it feels like he's, they've committed, I think, to Jedrick Wills as their left tackle. So they're not going to make that change. So it's not like other positions where you're going to rotate guys in.
He will.
It's not a bad thing to have him that you feel confident about him on the bench.
Hey, when we go big though,
Yeah,
when we go heavy,
he'll come in, goal line, 4th and inches.
We go heavy.
Why was he drafted so late?
There was the personal questions and personal issues about his character and his love of football.
Aha. Okay.
Because he left the Senior Bowl early, like he just did the pass rush drills,
Yeah.
and said I'm not gonna play in the game, because he felt like he showed what he can do in the individual and didn't really want to
Yeah.
get hurt. To me, I think there's just a lot. There's a lot of. That's why the NFL is good and everybody has parity, because a lot of people miss on a lot of people. Like there's a lot of misses, and like we just never seem to get our fair share of misses. That came was like, well, we didn't think that guy was good. Now he is. Oh, this is great.
Maybe him and Whippler will both end up being players.
Who knows? But I'm definitely using him on that short package. Like when we go heavy, like when it's 2 tight ends, I'm gonna take one tight. We'll put him right in there, and where we're running the ball at that point.
They should bring Ika in on the offensive line too in those.
I let him pull.
That's what I was saying.
Make him
2
the new
things
Fridge.
real quick.
Yeah.
For Whippler,
Yeah.
I know they signed Poachers to an extension. It's essentially a 1-year deal that they can extend for 2. If Whippler turns out to be good, Poachers probably is here next year, just out of money-wise. But 2, I want to see, as you guys were talking about this, a goal line situation. This will never happen.
Yeah.
I know this will never happen. But Myles Garrett deep in the backfield with a wishbone formation of Ika and DeJuan Jones as his fullbacks. You're telling me anyone's stopping that on the 1-yard line?
That would be.
So,
You better get low.
can you imagine them running a toss sweep? Can you imagine them running a toss sweep on that play?
Shout out to the Yin Yang twins. You better get low.
Better go between their
You
legs.
see the toss sweep on that, man?
Hey, that's crazy.
That's
And by
like 800 pounds of beef right there.
you know who would do it? Andy Reid.
Oh yeah. He would.
Yeah.
He'd do it.
He'll do anything.
He'll do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like,
That's still crazy, that ring around the rosy thing he did.
I just finished the
crazy.
quarterback.
Oh, you just finished it?
So a lot of the points that you was making comparing the quarterbacks. I got a lot of love for Kirk Cousins. Got a
he
lot of
came
love.
off very well.
A lot of love for Kirk Cousins, man. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I don't really like speaking too bad of certain people, man, but you could tell a beta male when you looking at
Marcus
one.
Mariota just
Marcus Mariota.
he folded like a wet leaf.
You can tell a beta male when you looking at one, man.
And you could tell, by the way, you know what's funny with the 3 quarterbacks? You could tell based on how good they were by how pumped the rest of the team was.
Yeah.
Like with Mariota, there was no energy.
Yeah.
With Cousins, there was solid energy. And with Mahomes, the team was ready to run through a wall.
I thought Cousins had more energy than I thought, because they was coming in and they're like, "Yeah, he high-fiving." I'm
but
like,
it wasn't like
Yo,
Mahomes.
No.
Mahomes
I am real big on how you respond to adversity. I am real big on how you respond to moments to where nothing is going your way or where things is hard, man. If you can dig down and fight and don't quit and like just keep working hard and be supportive of that other person or that other situation, it's different.
Yeah, quitting is lame.
That's lame.
Yeah, although the Eagles signed him, surprisingly. Anyway, go ahead, Mikey.
All right, we're going to move on to our next topic, but first I want to give you guys a heads up. Tomorrow night at about 7:30, after I do your podcast bowl, I'm going to hop on with Earl for the next edition of Behind the Glass.
Yeah.
Me, Earl. Anthony's going to Nickelback, so he will not be joining us on his birthday. We're giving him a pass. But we'll do the next edition of
By
Behind
the
the
way,
Glass.
I don't even think we've mentioned that we're going to have Tom Hamilton on at noon. That's a terrible job out of me.
We are going to have Tom Hamilton on at noon, which
Tom
is why
Hamilton
we have
in
to
10
get
minutes.
this next segment in before we move on here.
Oh, sorry.
And then Aditi
Aditi's
after.
at
No,
12.
we're just going to talk through those. It is
Aditi
what
at
it is. We're gonna
12:30, and I'll be a guest on John Telich's podcast today, too. We're recording that.
Tell John I
Nice.
said what's up.
I will.
Definitely. That's my guy.
So, over the weekend, Ricky Rubio announced that he was stepping away from the game of basketball to focus on his mental health.
Yeah.
He was slated to be the Cleveland Cavaliers' backup point guard this season, leaving a hole now at the end of free agency that they have to either fill internally or externally. Earl said on the day that free agency frenzy happened that the Cavs signing of Ty Jerome would go down as one of the best signings of the entire offseason. It was his favorite kind of under-the-radar move. And Earl, are you walking on cloud 9 today?
No, I ain't walking on cloud 9 yet. But I do feel even better about having him. To me, this is a dude who's a baller. He's a big point guard. He's an athletic point guard. He's a guy that can go out there and get a bucket. He's a floor facilitator. He's a guy that can set up his teammates. Always point back to the game last year when the Cavs played the Warriors. Steph Curry didn't play. This dude came in and dropped he had like 22 and 6.
Yeah,
something crazy like that. So, I felt like the Cavs needed more shooting and more athleticism at that backup point guard position anyway. You look at that, he shot 38% from three-point range. I think this is a unfortunate situation for Ricky Rubio, praying for him as he goes through what he goes through. But at the same time, I think it creates opportunity for a guy like Ty Jerome, who can now play some significant backup point guard minutes. And then I think it also creates some room potentially for a guy like Craig Porter Jr., who showed throughout Summer League that he can be a floor facilitator as well. If you look throughout the entire Summer League, even the games to where he didn't dominate the necessarily like the point scoring part of the stat book, but it was the assist. You know what I'm saying? And it was the plus minus differential, and it was things like that. So I think Ty Jerome is looking even better as that sneaky under the radar signing, because you got him. Mike, what was it, like $2 or $3 million that they got him for?
Jerome?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty cheap contract.
It was a pretty cheap contract for a guy who can shoot, a guy who can facilitate, and a guy that's big enough to run and defend. Man, that's what you want for a backup point guard. So I thought it was I think it looks better today.
Shout out to Ricky Rubio. You never want to see people go through certain situations. Hopefully he take care of his mental health, and he's a good solid pro, good locker room guy. But I think one of the things that Ricky Rubio is dealing with is, you got to remember, he's already torn his ACL once. The second ACL is different, right? And he's in his 30s. I couldn't imagine tearing an ACL. I mean, I partially tore my Achilles, and it was rough. Like trying to rehab, because you're not young, you don't have that same sort of exuberance, and you know exactly what's in front of you as far as rehab, and you talking about you trying to play basketball, guarding people off the dribble. With that being said, though, I think the Cavs is in a surprisingly good area. I can't believe the 180 I kind of had on the Guardians, and that's just a testament to Cavs, yeah. That's just a testament to, the guys that they brought in. Ty Jerome is a guy who, like you, I was yelling at my TV, can't nobody stop Adam Sandler out here. Adam Sandler's wetting us up. And I was screaming my TV when I saw him. I think I watched him at Virginia. I was salty as hell when he was eating us up. But he was cooking.
That boy was cooking, bacon and eggs, scrambled hard, cheese.
All kind of all the fixings, man. But I tell you what, I like him, but I also like an opportunity. And Porter is nice. You look at his stuff in the stat sheet: six rebounds, 7 assists, or something like that. His three-point numbers look terrible, but I don't know what kind of sample size that was. But I liked him, immediately when they signed him the first time. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to go with this. Sam Merrill. You know why I like Merrill? It's because he is a bona fide knockdown shooter. When it go up, you think it's going in every single time. And I need a dude like that. I need a dude that when he pulling up, you like, oh, goodness, that's that Steph Curry heart attack. I hope he don't hit it. He better not hit that.
Mike said it ain't real, man.
Huh?
My man said it ain't real. Mike said it ain't real.
I was
feeling the same way. You said that dude don't translate to the NBA.
You know what sucks about all of this? the reality, and I said I wasn't going to watch the Cavs this year if they didn't make any moves.
You ain't got no choice.
And then I said I will watch it.
You're
right?
a professional.
And they made 96 moves. They gave you all the moves.
But here's the problem with all this: that nothing they do in the regular season matters. Right? It doesn't matter. Maybe by the end of the year, Earl's going to say Ty Jerome had a top 10 all-time Cavs season.
That's good. You know,
George Niang is going for the throne.
Do you know what he would have to do to say that? Ty Jerome to have the top 10 season?
Ty Jerome.
He'd have to be like,
Hey, Ty Jerome have a game with 25 assists. Mark Price, look out.
I don't know that much about Ty Jerome. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. But just looking at the numbers, he seems like he's perfectly capable of holding down Ricky Rubio.
He's solid. Yeah,
it
he's
seems
a solid.
like he's perfectly capable of holding down that backup role. So
and these are the other available free agent point guards. And it's a crapshoot of who you want and who fits.
nah.
I like Ty Jerome in the current state
Neto
of
was
the
here last
Cavs
year.
roster more than
Yeah.
I like any of these guys.
No.
Totally honest.
What happened to John Wall? It was just injuries that killed him? Or?
Injuries, and he got the big contract and just
I'm cool.
decided to.
George Hill was here too.
I'm cool.
Yeah,
cool on all that.
I'm with Earl, man. Let's stick with Ty Jerome. Let's see what he's got.
And
What the hell?
McNuggets,
It's the regular season.
Why don't you like Merrill? What's your you hating on Merrill? What's going on?
No, listen. I have said Sam Merrill plays basketball like I wish I played. He is what I hope to be as a
He's
player.
the
and I was
highest
just
version
never
of
that good.
McNuggets.
I could not give him more high praise. However, the issue with a guy like Sam Merrill is he may score 20 and he's going to give 24. Teams will hunt him out and barbecue chicken, to use a Shaq term, him every time he's on the court in a pick and roll situation. And as good as he is offensively, or as good as he's proven to be, especially in the G League, he scored 22 points a game in the G League
That
last
Jamaican
year.
jerk,
Dude
man.
can shoot.
They give him the Jamaican jerk off the pick and roll every time.
Yeah, where's your boy Amari?
Yeah.
Listen, he'll be on Amari's rotisserie stand tomorrow if he's in a game defensively.
This
But
is-
I will say one thing with Merrill, though. When you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley back underneath
There
the
you
rim,
go.
Yeah.
you can be a little bit more of a suspect perimeter defender as long as you funnel guys to them. So maybe, but if you're depending on Sam Merrill, it was like, now Kevin Love got to stop it. Do you remember the feeling in the pit of your stomach, G, when Kevin Love switched out on Steph Curry?
Hey, I was scared as hell, Mike.
That's what happens when
I
Sam
was
Merrill
scared
switches on
as
to
hell.
anybody on the perimeter in a regular season game.
All of us was watching. I'm holding my breath like, man, I know Steph can shoot that and hit that. Like,
And that's like you walking. I was so scared. It's like you walk into your house and see another man's gym shoes on the floor.
man, listen.
And you be like, "Them ain't my gym shoes."
Can you
them a size
imagine?
10."
Can you imagine like why they was on the court? Because I can still remember who was on the court. Can you imagine what was going through LeBron's head as he seen Kevin Love step out there on Curry with the finals on the line? It was probably like, oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, real quick, because I know we got Tom Hamilton. Mike keep throwing up this whole, well, they don't play defense. And I ain't gonna say defense don't matter, and I don't care. But I seen the Cavaliers rank top 5 in damn near every defensive statistical category last year.
It didn't matter in the playoffs.
And it didn't matter because we
No.
couldn't get a bucket when it mattered.
It
So
didn't matter when it mattered.
yeah, so like,
And they didn't play great defense in the playoffs.
no,
either.
they didn't. So I'll take somebody that can go
Yeah.
get a bucket.
By the way, I'll tell
versus
you-
somebody that's a lot like
Here's the easy
liability.
answer, guys. Let's end this conversation with this. You guys are going to be with me on this one. You know who the Cavs have to sign? Forget all these other guys. Carmelo Anthony! Carmelo!
Where's the Brad emoji?
Hey, listen.
Fast ad. Immediately shutting off Bulls Mike at the fast ad for that one. That outrageous take today was brought to us by, or made of, let's give a shout out to Steve Becker. What's up, Steve? This fast ad reads for you. We appreciate everything you do behind the scenes for us, Steve. And we are now back. Tom Hamilton will join us here momentarily. As soon as he's on the line, we will bring Tom in. But if I have to hear Carmelo Anthony's name, how about they draft Kyan Anthony? Oh, wait, on basketball.
Yeah.
You tweeted this, Bull, but I had the same thought watching the game.
Yeah.
How many touchdown passes did DTR have to throw before G compared him to Amani Bates? And did you make that comparison yourself, G?
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, I seen it on a tweet. I seen it in
Yeah.
a tweet. I
Hey,
said,
no,
nah.
Bull's tweet was
It's
hilarious.
It was the first thing that
I
ran through my
It was
head.
I didn't say
hilarious.
G
It
specifically.
was the
but-
greatest subtweet of all time. But it was like, it was like, I think with DTR, he's gonna have to, like, he would have to be like Jordan Love. He got to like if they try to make him the incumbent, like that's when I'll start saying he's Imani Bates. Like when they say
Right.
when Deshaun Watson is all said and done, they're going to hand the keys to DTR and everybody knows it, then you could be him. You could be Imani.
Right.
But other than that.
But right now, if Imani Bates plays, you're like, okay, that's exciting. He must have some potential. If DTR plays this year, that's a disaster.
No, I agree with that.
If DTR,
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen though. I'm gonna tell you exactly what's gonna happen.
By the way, has he earned a nickname yet?
He been DTR for a while.
He's been DTR since he played in high school at Cedric Tillman.
All right.
He been DTR for a while.
Okay.
This is what I think gonna happen. I think he's gonna continue to have a great camp and preseason, and he's gonna do so next year, the year after that, the year after that, and then it's gonna be contract time again for Deshaun Watson, and it's gonna be fans saying, "Don't sign him." Because we got DTR.
Well, if Deshaun Watson plays up to his capability, those fans will be idiots.
But here's the thing. He got to catch Josh Dobbs because Josh Dobbs is him. Like the season he had, like his preseason he had last year.
Josh Timothy Dobbs.
They're going to keep – Kellen Mond is gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
They might have the same quarterbacks for the rest of their life. Why would they move on from Dobbs? They're just not.
No, Dobbs is here for 1 year, bro. He a placeholder. He a placeholder. He a 1 year rental for backup.
They won't even let him play the first preseason game. They got Josh Dobbs on ice. Tuck him away.
I don't think Dobbs is necessarily only here for 1 year.
I do.
I think they love him.
They do.
I think Dobbs is the perfect backup quarterback. I really do.
I mean, I don't know. We don't know if he could play in a regular season game. He's only played one game last year.
And that's fair. But I just mean as far as the being a backup's really tough. And not everyone's cut out to be a backup quarterback. And I'll use Johnny Manziel because his documentary came out today, and I can't wait to watch that. Later in this week, we'll have to do
I'm torn because I despise him so much.
Is it on Netflix?
It dropped today on Netflix, yeah.
Oh, I'm on that.
It's only an hour long. It's 1 hour,
one episode.
1 hour? Yeah, 1 hour, one episode.
I just can't stand him. I don't know
But
that I want to.
A guy like Johnny Manziel never had the ability to be a backup. Like, he needed to be in the spotlight. He needed to be the guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Baker's going to be a backup.
I agree. I don't think Baker has that mentality.
If Baker's not the starter this season in Tampa, his career's over.
He'll retire.
Pretty much.
But Josh Dobbs is the guy who I think is perfectly content being the guy who's ready when called upon.
Yeah.
Knowing it's
but
not.
But he's not a perfect backups are Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay,
like those guys can play and win you a couple games.
I think if he continues to adjust a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because what you can do is, you can just give him a bunch of information, he'll retain it.
He's so smart.
He's
might be one of those guys. Yeah. But right now, those are the back. Andy Dalton is another good backup now.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton's rare. Same thing with Bridgewater.
Wait, would you take Dalton over Dobbs?
Of course.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I wouldn't. Because I can use his legs.
No, not in this system. Hell no, boy.
Oh, you mean for the Browns specifically?
You talking about for the Browns system?
I was just saying in general.
I would still rather have him because Andy Dalton can win some games.
To me, the best backup ever is Fitzpatrick.
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 For a month, he'll play great.
For a month, he'll come. He'll hit you for 300.
What's his name? Who used to be on Jacksonville? That was on Philly.
Chase Daniels?
Gardner Minshew.
He's a really good
Another guy. For a month, he'll play well for you.
I almost said Mitch Mustang.
Even Brian Hoyer. He'll play well for you for a couple weeks.
Yeah, he
can't play a whole season.
He's the play action dink and dunk guy.
Oh, Nick Foles. You got to mention Nick Foles.
He's
Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles.
That's insane. That is insane.
Hold on. We lied to ourselves. Dang, we so stupid.
Ooh.
The greatest backup of all time is Jimmy G. But he's masquerading as a starter. He is the supreme level of a backup because you're like, dang, Jimmy G.
Alex Smith was a good backup too.
He was. He's so good that he make you think he's a starter.
Who's the most popular backup quarterback in modern day Cleveland Browns history? Like not best, but most
Kelly
popular.
Holcomb.
No.
Kelly Holcomb, or it was either Kelly Holcomb or Derek Anderson. Because
Brian Hoyer was.
No, I think it was Brian Hoyer.
In more recent. But I think G's right going further back with Kelly Holcomb.
But
since I've been here, I think it's Brian Hoyer since 2011.
Because Tim Couch, when Kelly Holcomb was playing, it was so messed up. It was a different playbook. Kelly Holcomb would get in the game and they got all these receivers and formations. Tim Couch get in and they be like, "Where's these plays at?" Kelly Holcomb went to Pittsburgh in a playoff game in the snow and threw for 370.
By the way, another really good backup that was a start. There's actually two really good backups. One that's, I think, retired now, and one that's still backing up that were both starters here briefly. Jason Campbell was an excellent backup.
Yeah, he was good.
And Colt McCoy, who's become he was a starter here
Yeah,
as a
Colt
rookie.
McCoy's a
but
good one. Yeah.
he's become a great back.
Colt McCoy is the one guy who's came through here since 1999 that I felt like did not get a fair shake. I felt like Colt McCoy could have been a solid starting quarterback in the NFL.
I don't see it. Do you?
I felt that way.
I don't think
definitely
he had the
felt that
arm.
way.
I don't think so.
He had that injury in the championship game in Texas. I think that nerve injury. But
remember when the Steelers? Who was it? Just beat the shit out of him. That started the whole concussion stuff.
I put that. I put it in a montage of a video I just did.
Oh, did you?
And James Harrison almost killed Colt McCoy twice.
Oh my God! And the Browns did nothing.
James Harrison caught Muhammad Massaquoi.
Oh yeah.
Almost killed him. Then they punished Josh Cribbs. They ended his Wildcat career because they was like, oh, we can helmet to helmet hit you outside of the box. You're a runner. You're not defenseless. And they was just not. And then when Antonio Brown karate kicked the punter,
Wow! Even as a Browns fan, you had to laugh at that one.
It was so disrespectful.
It was.
It really just as a
Who was the punter? I don't even remember.
I can't even remember.
When did Cole quit?
Might have been.
It could have been.
He got kicked in the face for no reason.
So humiliating.
And I was just like, this is what have we become?
More humiliating, being that punter or Tim Anderson right now?
Nah, it gotta be
Tim Anderson.
No, I don't know.
Tim Anderson.
Somebody left their feet.
He dropped his glove and squared up and got knocked out, bro.
But somebody put their big toes on your chin strap.
Yo.
I have no idea what I just missed.
Did I get the mic wet? I just spit out water all over the place. My shirt is soaked. Can somebody give me some paper towels?
He said your big toe all over your chin.
This line was so funny, and I had just taken a thank you.
I was like, I didn't even know you had the water in there. I was like,
man.
It's a wrap. I mean, but that's
my God.
How disrespectful is that, man? Come on, Earl. Like,
Man,
yo.
Listen,
He died from
I
a
literally
karate
just
kick.
I just seen that play on the reel. I'm sorry though, bro. Look, Tim tried to play the tough guy, right? He tried to play the tough guy role. He stared down, him, threw his glove up, and he told him square up. Jose said, "Oh, what?"
He missed them 2 right hands, and it was over.
It was over.
He missed them 2 overhead rights.
When he got back up, he was so stunned. He tried to act like he wanted some more.
And
by the way,
his tweets is giving praise.
Oh my God!
He got me on that one.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but he played last night, and then he had to come out in the middle of the game. He had to come out in the middle of the game.
He the first baseball player under a concussion protocol.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you got to miss
gosh.
this game and next game. That's so hilarious. Woo!
Case Keenum, that's true.
Yo,
Chad Henne, good backup. Steve tweets, Chad Henne, Jacoby Brissett. We forgot about Jacoby Brissett already.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett.
We all forgot about him. He was here last year.
my homie just texted me. He said, "Bull Wilder, man."
Who said that?
My homeboy. You see?
I am. G had a very funny line.
Yo, and they missed it.
All right, we got Tom Hamilton. Oh my gosh, Tom Hamilton is with us. Let's get serious here. Hi, Tom. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, good to be with you. Thanks.
Tom, we got to start obviously with something that everybody's talking about, of course, which is the fight and how you so amazingly went from baseball mode to boxing mode, and down goes Anderson. And obviously, there's no possible way to prepare for something like that because how could you ever think that was going to happen? I mean, forget the benches clearing, which happens rarely in baseball, but 2 guys squaring up. I don't know if I've ever seen that, once or twice maybe. How did you make that transition so quick? That was so funny. I mean, it's just making the rounds. It's unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, to your point, no, you never expect anything like that, especially when you didn't really sense that there was any kind of an undercurrent until the next day when I was in the clubhouse talking to players and coaches and was told a few things that you hadn't been told before. And I get it because what goes on in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse, but it was then exposed with that brawl that escalated on what seemingly was an innocent play at second. But to your point, yeah, normally you can maybe anticipate a bench clearing if you've seen guys getting drilled by pitches in a series or in a game where both teams are unhappy with either being brushed back or hit by a pitch. But, we didn't have any of that. And so that was the most, I think, unpredictable bench clearing that I've seen in my 34 years with a ball club. And it's certainly the first time that I've seen literally the two guys square off. Amazing. Normally a baseball fight is a lot of hollering, pushing, shoving, and then guys looking over their shoulder when they're charging them out going, boy, I hope somebody gets out here and stops me so I don't get beat up.
Yeah, that's a great point. I thought one of the things you said on the broadcast, which is so true, is that you never, Jose never gets mad. Who has more fun playing baseball than Jose Ramirez? So he had to really be, for any player to get to that point is one thing, but for him, that was just so stunning.
Well, I think, and again, once you talked to the guys the next day and they shared some more of the insight as to what had gone on the week before, where they felt Tim Anderson was really disrespecting Gabriel Arias. It continued on Saturday night with Arias playing first base and Anderson chirping at him so much from the dugout that the one first base umpire went over there and told Anderson to knock it off. It was also a byproduct of what had happened on Friday night with another rookie, Brian Rocchio, sliding headfirst into second. Anderson, with a hard tag, knocked his hands off the bag purposely. Now, the umpire blew the call.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, Anderson's trying to get an edge any way he can. The umpire blew the call. But the bottom line was, for Jose, he felt like this was a veteran trying to bully the rookies. And this was Jose Ramirez sticking up for his teammates.
Love it.
This is why Jose Ramirez is revered in that clubhouse by his teammates. When you're a teammate of Jose, it doesn't matter if you're a superstar or if you're a rookie like Arias and Rocchio, you're a teammate and he has your back. And I think we heard more from Jose than we've ever heard in regards to what his thought process was and, how he felt like Anderson was disrespecting the game. Jose has never been thrown out of a ball game. He never argues with an umpire. If he disagrees with a call, he disappears in the dugout, goes up the tunnel so nobody sees it. So that's his way of showing respect to the umps, getting out his frustration where nobody can see it. And to the point that the other day, Tito wanted to give him a day off. This was before the skirmish. And Jose said, Tito, I get a day off when the calendar says we don't have a game that day. Otherwise, I want to be in the lineup. So he's the epitome of what you want in a ball player and even more importantly in a teammate.
No doubt.
Tom, man, it's a pleasure to be sitting here in front of you. I got a question, but I got a statement real quick. Last year, I hosted my first ever radio show on The Fan. And some of the advice I got from Ken Carmen, he says, don't waste time telling people who you are. You got 6 minutes to make people decide, are they going to listen to you or Tom Hamilton? And to be sitting here now on TV talking to you, man, it's a pleasure. So definitely
congratulations to you.
Thank you. Gavin Williams, another rookie in this game, right?
Yeah.
12 strikeouts yesterday, became the first Guardians pitcher with at least 12 Ks as a rookie. Talk about the biggest difference you see from him from his first career start to what he did last night.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think what we're seeing, as we saw last night, is a young man starting to feel comfortable. A young man that goes, hey, my stuff plays up here. In baseball, we always use the adage, trust your stuff, especially when you're talking about a pitcher, because they come up here and pitches that were getting minor league hitters out are suddenly getting hit for base hits. Well, it happens up here. That's because these guys are the best hitters in the game, and sometimes your best stuff isn't good enough. That's why it's the best playing against the best. But he started now to really figure it out that attack the zone, don't nibble, don't try to make the perfect pitch. His stuff plays up here. And, I think last night to do that against that kind of a lineup gives you an idea of what his future is all about. And the guy going tonight, Tanner Bybee, is, I think, even a little bit further along than Gavin Williams. But you know what? We haven't had two young pitchers with this kind of stuff come up at the same time. Boy, I almost have to go back to CC Sabathia and Fausto Carmona. And they did it after they had several years under their belt. You know, the future's really bright when you look at this pitching staff with Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee, and Logan Allen. And, you know, I think there are a lot of general managers today asking their scouting director, why did Cleveland get him with the 23rd pick in the first round? What were we doing?
Yeah, certainly, no doubt, Tom. The pitching, the young pitching has been so good. They've continued to move on from the older pitching, bring in the younger. It always works. Unfortunately, as great as he pitched, he didn't win. I know we don't judge pitchers by wins anymore, which I think is smart, but pitchers still want to get wins. And, for the team to only get one hit behind him has got to be so frustrating. Did he, I don't know if you went to the clubhouse after the game yet or last night, but no, but how frustrated do you think he was to not get a win in that situation?
You know what? No, I don't think he probably was.
Okay.
He's not that kind of a kid. He is really quiet and very laid back until he gets on the mound, and then you see how competitive he is. But, I think one of the things is with young pitchers, first off, the club has done a really great job with these kids coming up here and knowing their place. The old adage really plays in a major league clubhouse. When you're a rookie, you're to be seen, not to be heard. Veterans don't want rookies coming up and popping off and becoming the center of the clubhouse. You need to earn your way into that clubhouse. And our ball club's been very good as far as accepting young players and, not putting them through some kind of a quote-unquote hazing scenario. That doesn't happen in this clubhouse, but you're still a rookie. And I think these guys have really come up here with an idea of how to handle themselves, how to be a pro in that clubhouse. And that's also not in their makeup. Look, we've had other guys here that would be pretty darn selfish when it would come to having that kind of a performance and not getting the run support that you talked about. And one of those guys is now pitching in Japan, but I won't mention his name. But, these kids know their place, and they know how to stay humble. Sandy Alomar has always said it best. Baseball is a game for those that are humble and those that are about to be humbled. And, these kids know that there's going to be a day where maybe they give up 4 runs and the ball club scores 5 or 6 and bails them out.
Tom, it's very rare that you see the Guardians or the Indians back in the past have any sort of, weak moments, right? Moments of vulnerability. I thought one of those moments was last week when, the front office had to go explain, what they were thinking in terms of the future right now, players, why certain players were moved. And, when that happens, it's very rare for this group of people, especially the front office, because they always seem to make the right move. Even when it comes to top names like Lindor, top names like Sabathia we talked about, they've always been able to replace those guys. And so you really can't fault them and fault them in what they're doing and moving. What was your thought process when you heard that they had to go talk to the team? And is that something that, that was a hard call because they usually don't make moves like that?
Yeah, those are really valid and good questions and points. I think one of the things that has separated Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff and Tito is their transparency. And I think that's why guys like playing here and appreciate playing here because they are transparent. They let them know where they stand. And Chris and Cherney, the day after the deadline, caught a 6:30 flight in the morning to get down to Houston because we had a day game. And they knew our clubhouse was upset, especially the veterans. Not so much the rookies because, again, some of these kids are like, hey, I'm so happy to be here. I'm not complaining about anything. But when you're a veteran, guys like Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez, they weren't happy because that meant that, look, this ball club doesn't look like it's going to be good enough to get into the playoffs. and so Chris and Cherney wanted to be there to let those players talk to them, air out whatever grievances they had, whatever complaints that they might have, and be accountable as a front office. Look, at the end of the day, guys, if Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, and Cal Quantrill are healthy and pitching, this doesn't happen at the deadline. You don't see Rosario and Savali and Bell getting traded. You would have seen them go out and try to add a piece or two to make that playoff push and have a deep run in October. But you're not getting Shane Bieber back until at least mid-September. It may be even later than that for Tristan McKenzie. Cal Quantrill probably isn't going to pitch on the big league level until late this month. At some point, you have to be realistic, and you have to go, hey, this is just too much to overcome, and we cannot throw young assets to go out and get a veteran piece when we know that this ball club, with these injuries, it's just not feasible for them to win this division and have a deep run in October. They don't want to just get into the playoffs. They want to get back to the World Series and win it. And I think with Aaron Savali, I get why a lot of people are like, well, why would you trade your best starting pitcher? Look, and again, not to diss Aaron Savali, but the facts are he's missed 2 to 3 months in each of the last 3 years, including this year. And their concern was, is Aaron Savali going to stay healthy long term? And is this the time that we move him when his stock is at its best? And they also needed to get what they hope, and we'll see, is a young impact hitter. What they're going to have to really look closely at is, why are we able to develop all this great young pitching and not good young hitting? And what you don't want to continue to have to do is rob Peter to pay Paul and have to trade that good young pitching to go get a hitter. You've got to be able to do both. And so I think that'll be something that'll be looked at closely this offseason in particular.
So, Tom, essentially, I think that was a great response, because my follow-up question was going to be 5.5 games out. It seems like now basically it's about letting these young guys develop, letting these young guys, prove what they have for the rest of the season going into next year. And, hey, if you end up at top of the division, you do. But if not, that's fine as well. So, you're talking about robbing Peter to pay Paul. What can they do differently, going forward to try to see if they can develop these hitters? I'm 35. Well, I remember the Indians teams with Manny Ramirez, Jim Thome, and, all the homegrown guys. They didn't have great pitching. They had all the power bats. Now it's the total opposite. What can they do? What do you think they can do?
Well, if I had the answer to that, you guys wouldn't have me on, because I'd be making a lot of money making But it's a really good point, and I think that's the question they're asking themselves. I know it is. Look, again, I'm prejudiced because obviously I work for the organization, but I also see how it's done elsewhere, and I just think our front office is as sharp as it gets, and they've had revenue constraints, as we all know. I'd love to see what Chris and Cherney would do if they had $250 million payroll. Look what we're seeing in New York. Those two ball clubs have spent over $600 million this year, and neither ball club's going to get to the playoffs. And so if you and I all see this, darn well that Chris and Cherney are asking the same question. What do we need to do here to make sure that we're also producing impact hitters? Because that has been something, outside of Francisco Lindor. Now, Jose Ramirez was like so many young Latins that you get out of either the DR or Venezuela. Those are all free agents. Frankie Lindor, because he was from Puerto Rico, they're part of the Major League draft, and of course he had moved to Florida as well. But when you look at it, Francisco Lindor is really the last guy that we have drafted and developed that's really turned into an impact player that was a first-round pick. So, they're obviously looking at this as we're talking about it, because they know this better than anyone, that, they've got to get better at it. I think we are seeing, that obviously they drafted and developed Stephen Kwan and Will Brennan, and those two kids in the outfield are off to nice starts in their careers. I think we're seeing Brian Rocchio, and that's part of also why Ahmed Rosario was traded. They have to figure out, guys, who's the shortstop going forward? Is it Brian Rocchio? Is it going to be Gabriel Arias? Do you move Andres Jimenez from second back to short? Those are questions. They've got to get some answers on those questions here the next 2 months, so they've got more of a game plan going into the offseason. And I think you'll see this be a very busy ball club this offseason, because what you also don't want to do, you can't waste this good young pitching. Right. And then all of a sudden they get to become free agents, and can you afford to keep some of them, all of them? You've got to be able to be winning now when you've got what looks to be a heck of a crop of starting pitching that you'll control for the next 5 years.
Tom, last thing, obviously big story last night. It seemed like everybody in the industry was tweeting about this. The situation with the Orioles and their young broadcaster Kevin Brown, who just stated statistics about how the Orioles have been terrible against the Rays. And then, the Orioles are a weird organization, but they suspended him for that. It just seemed crazy. As a veteran broadcaster, what do you think about this?
Well, I'll answer it in two ways, and I'm not trying to dodge it. One, I'm not real comfortable commenting on that story yet because I don't know all the details.
Fair.
All we know is kind of what we're getting are bits and pieces, and the Orioles are saying that's not true. And I haven't even talked to Kevin Brown. We play Baltimore in September. Yeah. So I'm not real comfortable talking or commenting on a situation where maybe I don't know the full story. What I will say is I am so grateful, and it's part of why we've been lucky enough to be here 34 years. One, we absolutely love Cleveland. We're able to raise 4 children here, and I can't think of a better place than we could have raised our 4 than here in Cleveland. That's first and foremost. Secondly, and every bit as important, the organization has never handcuffed me or any of our other broadcasters, as far as I know, about what you can say and you can't say. Now, look, we all make mistakes, and I'm at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to making mistakes and saying things maybe I shouldn't have, or maybe I went too far with it. That's a internal battle that you always have. But at no point have I ever been told, hey, you got to be all, rose petals when you talk about our ball club. Right. The beauty of the Indians under Dave Jacobs and now the Guardians under Larry Dolan's ownership, they have always believed that the best tool that I have is credibility. And your credibility is compounded if you're only allowed to talk about positive things. So after a while, your audience no longer trusts you, nor are they going to listen to you, right, because they don't believe you. Now, you've got to be careful, and excuse me, and hopefully I am, but what you don't want, and Herb Score taught me a long time ago, the longer you're in the booth, the more you start to feel like you're God, judge, and jury. And that's something you always have to be cognizant of, that you don't know everything. But by the same token, I have never once been said, hey, what are you doing? You can't do this. This is what you need to say. And I'm eternally grateful for that, because without that freedom, you don't have much of a career.
That's fair. Great stuff, and that's great to hear. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate it as always. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
The great Tom Hamilton. He's as good as it gets, man. It's always a pleasure having him on. Mikey, go ahead. We're going to have a Didi in a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
We'll have Didi in a couple of minutes. We really do. We're so lucky in Cleveland to have some of the best radio play-by-play announcers in the entire country, regardless of sport, between Jim Donovan, Tom Hamilton. I'm drawing a blank on the Cavs guy, but he came on the show. He was great on the show.
Man, rest in peace to Joe Tate, man.
We really are lucky to have some elite company here. We're going to get to Aditi as soon as – Aditi's hopping on. She's just stepped out of the chair, so we'll bring Aditi on in 1 second.
Getting play-by-play of Aditi sitting in a chair.
Well, we're going to do some play-by-play to end. Kareem Hunt officially signing with the Saints, by the way, assuming he passes the physical. So Kareem Hunt off the market, which means if the Browns are going to sign another running back, it will not be their former
They were not bringing him back.
Saints signed linebacker Anthony Barr as well.
They also signed Anthony Barr. That is correct.
It's
that
funny.
is pending physicals.
Before last year, I thought that Kareem Hunt would be a starter somewhere else this year.
I did too.
And I was so wrong. He is. I mean,
he's going to be Jamal Williams' backup doing the Alvin Kamara suspension.
Yeah, first of all, Alvin Kamara's only missing
backup.
Alvin Kamara's only missing 3 games.
Right. So Jamal Williams will be the starter.
Yeah, but they got a kid they drafted, didn't they?
Yeah, Keandre Carter.
I don't think he's going to move ahead of him. Why would they do that?
Because he's a rookie.
Yeah, who
Rookie
knows?
Running backs play.
But Bull, what I do know,
yes.
and I don't pretend to be a genius. We all know that I'm not.
I do, certainly.
But I do know
pretend, though.
that our favorite AFC North insider and Cleveland Browns sideline reporter for the first preseason game at home this season is the one, the only Aditi Kinkhabwala, who now joins us for the first time with me back since
You say it
January.
as if it didn't count when you weren't here.
Yeah, I wasn't here last week when she was here, so it didn't
didn't
really count.
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 Wait, Aditi, I'm Earl. It is nice to meet you.
I know, because Anthony didn't. Anthony didn't tell
Earl.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Aditi had
can't
never
believe
met
you got
Earl
me
because
out.
Earl hadn't been on the
Yeah.
air last year when she was on, and Anthony, dropped the ball. Didn't
Yeah.
say, "Hey, Earl's on the panel."
Yeah.
Whatever.
Full-time producer,
No,
aspiring
but like-
host, huge fan of yours. So it was fun for me to be out here in front of you. Looking forward to Friday.
It was okay. It wasn't like we needed a formal introduction. We just got right down to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
No, I think Anthony
Kareem
dropped
Hunt
the
was
ball.
never coming back, guys. Never. Relationships sometimes run their course. And
Yeah.
so best of luck to him, because you always wish best of luck to any player. But good note that you should never really be a pain, right? And never
I
break
don't wish-
bridges.
I don't
And
wish- Wait a second. I
So
don't wish
I
best of luck
heard
to
that.
every player.
I heard somebody told me that. I don't have sources.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah, you
read.
do.
Yeah,
Cap.
I kind of. Yeah, I got
Cap.
stuck. But I heard that like Kareem Hunt was like really. They were like really kind of disgruntled. Like he was not happy last year, and the Browns were like, okay, we're not happy either. And I didn't see that.
wait, what do you mean? Like you heard that? Didn't he do it himself when he had a hold-in, and he sort of made it known that he wasn't happy with the amount of money that he was getting, and that he wanted a new deal?
We kind of overlooked
So
that.
it's not like it's really a herd. I mean, it's sort of, this isn't like quite as salacious. If
Well,
it
he
sounds
heard other
cool,
things. He heard more
sources
detail.
say Kareem Hunt wasn't happy. We can do that. But Kareem Hunt made clear that he
That's
wasn't
true.
happy last
He
year.
did in the beginning.
And I just, sure, in the beginning, I guess. But then last year it was different. And now everybody's using the Mike Tomlin line. Everybody wants volunteers, not hostages. And so I think if you're not happy at a place and you make it known that you're not particularly happy at a place, or you feel underappreciated, or you feel underpaid, or you feel undervalued in some way, then, it's never going to be one-sided.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, gee, if you tell your wife that you're unhappy, then you think your wife is just going to be like, oh, but I'm so happy? It's going to make her unhappy too.
Oh yeah, man, I made that decision. I did that a few times. I was
He's
engaged.
been married 7 times.
I was engaged. I'm like, I am not happy. I don't like your tone today.
Yeah. That's it. I'm out.
Peace. Not working for me.
He's frozen.
That was so
Gee, I
funny.
missed you. Yeah, even though Mikey says it doesn't count, I missed you last week, G. I did.
Aw, thank you.
right.
I do have an off kilter question to ask because I always ask her because I'm
Shocker.
thinking about trying to be a parent. So at what age do you let your kids wear their own clothes? Do your kids right now pick out the outfit for do they just get up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna wear this, or are they still in the mode where they just try to run things back?
No, they are most definitely picking their clothes, both of them. And it was very, very disappointing with my daughter because I thought I was like getting a real life Barbie doll.
Right,
But
you said
nope,
that.
she has. Yeah, she's got strong opinions. But, here's the magic, G. If you are a very smart parent, you know how to manipulate them into the clothing that you want them to wear.
Oh, there's
And
rhymes.
you do this, yes, and you hold your bullets. You choose the occasions where it's really important that you drive, hey, this is what we are wearing today.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're kind of in a, you know how it goes, G. You're just
But
like,
don't
my
you have
goodness,
veto
I'm
power?
so
You don't-
good on you. You look so handsome. You look so tall. Nico, you look great if you actually wear real clothes instead of a t-shirt and gym shorts, because apparently all the kid ever wants to wear is gym shorts or sweatpants.
He's a kid. What's wrong
I
with
second that.
I think that's
see
I think
nothing
that is
wrong.
real close though.
Yeah.
I think that's real close. I got on sweatpants and a t-shirt now. That's real
Yeah,
close.
that's real. But wait a
Yeah,
second.
but you know what? Occasionally, like when you're on the golf course, you got to wear a, collared
no.
shirt.
Get your
Or
button
you
up
go to
on.
a party, it might be nice to wear something that has a button on it.
No,
like
I don't
one.
like buttons.
One
Buttons
button
are
on the shorts.
inappropriate.
Is that really so awful?
Yes.
Aditi.
It's absurd that people have to get dressed up. It's insane that people have to wear a suit and a tie. And the only thing dumber than people wearing a suit and tie is that people who are talking about sports have to get dressed up is the stupidest thing of all time.
They did a three-piece
I
suit.
agree with you on that one. I remember when I first went to the NFL Network. So this is all the way in 2012. I was at the NFL Network, and Albert Breer, God bless him, would be out on a training camp field wearing a suit.
Insane.
And I was just like,
terrible.
yes. I mean, everybody else out there is in shorts.
Yeah.
It's 90-something degrees. We're all sweating. I mean, I had this issue last year because someone took umbrage with the fact that on the sideline, where, P.S., when I'm on television, you only see me from here up.
Yeah.
And as a sideline reporter, you mostly hear my voice. You don't even see anything. But I log at least 10 to 15,000 steps during a game. So I'm down in Jacksonville. It's 96 degrees. I'm wearing a blouse, and I'm also wearing a golf skirt. So it's
So who took
short.
umbrage with that?
Looks like a skirt. I'm not saying that on air right now, but it was a thing.
Will
This
you
is
tell
why
me off the air?
Sure, I'll tell you off the air.
Okay,
It
what-
wasn't a boss. It wasn't a superior. So that's okay. But, I mean, if you're running 15,000 steps, I'm wearing sneakers. I'm not
Yeah,
wearing stilettos
ridiculous.
because I'm on a football field.
Yeah.
And I wore a golf skirt. So there you go.
Aditi.
Anyway, moving on. I'm sure
moving
you're
on,
more
moving on.
interested in
Who
things
derailed
other
that
than the
conversation? Who
Vikings
started
wardrobe
that?
So we know
wardrobe.
Kareem Hunt not coming back to Cleveland. He was never coming back to Cleveland. Jerome Ford
yeah.
apparently suffered like a hamstring injury, and Me G and Bull was talking about how those things could linger. Should the Browns actually explore the free agency market to bring in another running back just to be on the safe side, or should they be okay with what they have?
Well, no, I do think that you're always exploring, right? You're always looking what's out there, and you're always seeing, is there a possible upgrade? You look at, for instance, the signing of a Juan Thornhill. I don't know that the Browns are necessarily actively saying, we want to go chase him, but then all of a sudden the market appears and you pounce. So you've always got your eyes open, you've always got your ears open or plugged or whatever the cliche would be there. But I do think that even if Jerome Ford is ready for the start of the season, it is disappointing that he will miss some preseason snaps. I think there was an expectation that we'd see a good chunk of him in the preseason just to get him more reps. I personally feel like you can be confident with him as your number 2 back. You still need a third back, and there's just some questions about the 3 that we've seen so far. And so I wouldn't be shocked. Now, maybe one of the 3, Felton, Kelly, and the third kid whose name somebody help me out right now.
I
My
can't even think of it.
goodness.
Who's the other kid? The kid they got.
I can't think of his name either.
I only
John
know
Kelly?
Felton
No, Kelly's not.
No,
a
I
kid.
said John Kelly.
We know Kelly. We know
Billy
Felton.
Felton, and who's the other guy? Nobody knows.
There is no.
All right,
John
this
Kelly,
is where
you
I need a
guys.
producer, or like go away from me
Our
so I
producer
can
just
look
failed.
down at my
Oh, number
roster
30. What's his
or
name? Number 30.
something. In any
Listen,
case,
we
I
all
do
know
think
it's very obvious. We all know who this was.
It's Slappy
It was
McGillicuddy.
definitely not John Kelly. It was Hassan Hall, obviously.
Duh.
How'd you forget Hassan
Like
Hall?
Hassan Hall. Like, come on now. Be part of this team.
So I think, yeah, these are 3 young men that, could potentially show more in order to secure that third running back spot. But if not, the Browns aren't doing their due diligence, aren't doing their job if they're not out there to see how the market materializes in the next month. I mean, we're going to see a lot of that anyway in the next month, right? As cuts are made, teams are looking like, oh, here's another cliche for you. One man's trash is another one's treasure. So maybe a team lets somebody go, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, that guy could really fit what we're trying to do really well. So it is disappointing. I did want to see a bit more of Jerome Ford.
Right.
It is disappointing at least that he's not getting these preseason reps, because the reps, obviously, the live game reps, all of that, it counts for something. And it does ready you in a certain way.
Didi, how are the Bengals going to handle the Joe Burrow situation? Are they going to be slow to put him out there? Jamar Chase is coming out and said, listen,
Saw what he said.
He's like, I'll catch you week 5. Don't rush it. What would you do with that situation? Or how do you think they're going to handle it too?
I just think that these are all hypotheticals at this point, right? So I think it's like we're still what are we, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out from the
4.
start of the season? So there's, 4 or 5 weeks. So, like, there's no reason to make a discussion right now.
Right.
But I think that Jamar is very wily in sort of saying, hey, we're good until week 5, because anything before that will feel like a bonus at this point. You know, if Joe Burrow is indeed 100% and ready to try it out week 1, that'll feel like an emotional boost, as opposed to being framed as, oh, he's rusty, or oh, he's coming off an injury. It's like, wow, you know, he's ready to go, and we're so excited about that. But I do think that the Bengals are in this for the long game. Obviously, they're not going to rush anything early in the season, because Jamar Chase does make a really good point. You need him healthy in the stretch. You need him healthy where you go, and if you feel strong enough where you're trying to go later in the season, and if you feel strong enough about your team, I mean, this is why you invest in a good backup quarterback. This is why you care about your backup quarterback.
I don't know that they have a good backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback's Trevor Siemian. I don't think he's very good, but he's played in the league. I mean,
he's got some experience, and there's not, you know, you're not being asked to do that much. You've got a good run game. You've got a good line. You dump off the ball to your playmakers, and you ask your playmakers, you ask T and Jamar to make some plays for you.
I mean, that's a big difference. Like when the lines first came out for week 1, the Bengals were a 3.5-point favorite in Cleveland. The line's down to 1.5 now. If Burrow doesn't play, the Browns will be at least a 3-point favorite. I mean, him not playing swings the line 6-7 points easy. That's how.
Well, and it should. Don't you think he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league? Like, hasn't he proven that that is who he is? And so obviously he should have that kind of an impact on it. Speaking of quarterbacks who are game breakers, are you guys excited for Hard Knocks?
Not at all. Are you?
Not even slightly.
Really?
I hate Aaron Rodgers.
Quarterbacks ruined it.
Didi, we've been on the quarterbacks, the Netflix.
Quarterback on Netflix was awesome. It's much better than Hard Knocks is so cheesy. Every year, here's the storyline. There's guys, they make a big deal about some fat coach cursing. There's always some random white dude who's not going to make the roster, or even if he does, he's going to get cut in week 2.
Yeah, but the Jets already said you're not getting in that meeting when he gets cut.
Oh, the Jets don't. Jets, who the hell are the Jets? They'll get wherever the hell they want to get. Their coach is going to get fired at the end of the year if they don't win. And
oh my gosh, it must be so much fun to be.
And cut down day is boring. Nobody wants to see that anymore anyway. They do the same thing every year with cut down day. I
want to see if we see the inside of Aaron Rodgers' house. I mean, I saw the pictures in the New Jersey paper of the outside. I'd love to see how he decorated it inside. And did it come with the furniture, or was that just staging?
I guess.
Aaron Rodgers and I share a birthday.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
It's Anthony's
Did you like when the
tomorrow.
Browns were on Hard Knocks? Did you like when the Browns were on Hard Knocks?
Loved it. Loved it.
Did.
You know, Hugh Jackson came off like a total ass in that.
No, Hugh Jackson came off
And
as
that
a total
surprised
ass
you.
and a total phony.
Yeah, total phony.
Total
Okay,
phony.
did
Like,
that surprise you? Did you see a different side of him than what you thought he was prior to that?
No.
I thought he came off as fake, if I'm being totally honest with Didi, because prior to that, he seemed very mild-mannered. He seemed, just more like of a people person. And then he's arrogantly kind of like, putting coaches on Front Street because he's on TV. And it's like, wait a minute. Yeah. That's not the dude we hired. You're only doing this because the cameras are around.
If you had interacted with him already, you knew that he was a douche.
Yeah.
When the Browns first hired him, I loved the hire at the time because I didn't know him. But then you get to know him, you're like, oh, this guy's a real douche.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting because it just reveals a different side of, in many ways, when the cameras are always there and it's not what you are putting on in front of people. I think that your loathing of Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example of that. Aaron Rodgers plays a part publicly. And I think when the cameras are on and you see him actually interacting with his teammates, you might see a different side of him. You might see a different piece of his personality. You might not. He might just affirm exactly who you thought he was.
Kirk Cousins grew on me. I didn't like Kirk Cousins, and he grew on me from the quarterback documentary.
I'm trying to find out if
my favorite line, I think, in that entire documentary, P.S., was when Kirk Cousins' wife, who is, all of the wives, I loved Marcus Mariota's wife. I thought Kirk Cousins' wife was really engaging. But when his wife says, people tease him for looking like he shops at Target. But we do shop at Target.
Yeah.
I thought it was so great.
That was awesome.
You tease him for exactly who we are.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I've known Kirk Cousins since he was drafted in the league. I covered Washington so much that year when both he and RG3 were rookies. And he is who he is. He's a weird guy. He's not what you would think of as the prototypical starting quarterback in the NFL, but he is authentically himself.
He took an
I
L
think
in
it's
the playoffs
really
and then Reddish hit a
right
book.
now. Oh, sorry. I think it's intriguing now how there's so much chatter about who the next group is going to be. How Josh Allen is saying, yeah, right? Like, I've not said no yet, or I have said no, or I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think it's pretty cool, that whole piece of it.
Yeah.
Who would you want to see? Earl, who would you want to see? Who's the three? Who would be
Who's
your
the three
three?
quarterbacks I would want to see in season 2?
Well, you'd want to see Watson, wouldn't you?
Not in season 2. Maybe give me Watson in season 3. The 3 quarterbacks I would want to see in season 2. Give me Jalen Hurts.
One is automatic. You got to have it.
Give me Jalen
Well,
Hurts.
Jalen already said no. Jalen
Okay.
said no.
Give me
This is who he wants to see, Aditi, not who's.
Yeah, true, Mikey.
give me Justin Herbert.
Herb, you want Herb?
It can't be 2 stars.
She asked me who I
It
wanted to
can
see.
be whatever Earl wants to
She
see.
asked me who I
A
wanted to see.
star, a
She
solid.
asked me who I wanted to
It's
see.
Neapolitan.
Wait.
Come on now. What's the
Come
matter?
on, you know the setup. You got a
Wait.
star, medium sauce, and a guy that's
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Maybe
Give me
Earl
Tua.
thinks Justin Herbert's medium sauce. Let the man do
Give
his
me
answer.
Tua.
She was asked a question.
All right, Tua.
Give me Tua.
Hurts, Tua.
Give me Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I take Justin Herbert off for the sake of this conversation.
all right.
Okay.
And give me Trevor Lawrence.
All right. You still failed the assignment. But,
He got 3 good. Was
Earl, you got an A+ in my mind. Hey, Aditi, I got a serious question for you here.
Aditi, what did I get? What's
you got
your
no
grade?
Slappy. You gotta have Baker on there.
I don't care about
Baker
that.
has
You gotta have Baker.
Baker gotta
Of
be on
course
there.
you gotta have Baker. Baker's gotta be the Mariota on there.
Yeah, he is.
100%.
100%. I agree.
I thought the whole Mariota thing shedding light on whether he actually left the team or didn't leave the team, whether he had the
he
surgery
left.
with his coaches. Well, I thought it was interesting to kind of revisit that later.
Yeah.
With the cameras having actually been there. It felt colder in real time to realize that happened the day after his baby's birth. And thinking about how significant a moment that is and what the real roller coaster is. If the highest of highs is watching your baby be born. And then the next day finding out like, oh, well, so what? Professionally, this is the end of the road, at least in this spot. I don't think I really put it together last year that the two happened that close together. That there was the personal and professional jarring. Anyway, go ahead, Mikey. Sorry.
Aditi, I do have a question for you. I need you to rank for me in terms of most impactful to least impactful these 3 offseason moves for the Browns. The trade of Elijah Moore,
Okay.
the signing of Dalvin Tomlinson, or the hiring of Jim Schwartz. From most impactful to least impactful on this upcoming 2023.
Number 1, hiring of Jim Schwartz. Number 2, signing of Elijah Moore. Number 3, signing of Dalvin Tomlinson. And that's not a knock on Dalvin in any way. I just think that Jim Schwartz has already had such an enormous impact on this club. And it's not just the accountability and the discipline and the organization and the scheme and the teaching and the experience and the wisdom and all of that he brings to the defense and the coaching that he does of the coaches under him. It's also what he's able to take off of Kevin Stefanski's plate. I mean, you've got a seasoned guy who's been in that seat that allows Kevin Stefanski a little bit more freedom, leeway, time to spend with the quarterbacks and spend with the offense and spend running the whole club kind of on a different level than what he maybe had to do before. So that's number 1. I'm super excited to see how the Jim Schwartz, Myles Garrett marriage works. And so far I'm hearing that Myles is really responding under Jim Schwartz, but I'm very excited to see it up close myself. Number 2, I have to pick Elijah Moore just because, my goodness, have you guys seen all these videos of the way he and Deshaun Watson are connecting? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a huge Elijah Moore fan last year. I remember sitting with him in the production meeting before the Week 2 game. We had that at CBS. We had the Jets-Browns game. I know, bad memory for Browns fans, but I was so impressed with him. Every single report about him coming out of college was just how much he loves the game, how into the game he is, how hard of a worker he is. And I think this new, fresh climate is really good for him. And in offensive coordinators, going from Mike LaFleur to Alex Van Pelt, he's got very different personalities. I think that he's really going to blossom under Alex Van Pelt. I love what I'm seeing about what he's already creating rapport-wise with Deshaun Watson. And then obviously Dalvin Tomlinson, I mean, that was the big signing. It's this defensive line. It's what you're doing at the line of scrimmage that you feel great about. But I think that that's also a whole group. That also has to do with Za'Darius Smith and what he's adding to that group. It's what schematically they're doing. It's Tomlinson is a series of veterans that are bringing something different to that defense, whether it's Juan Thornhill, Rodney McLeod, Tomlinson. It's that whole group of them and what they do for the defense. So again, all meaningful, but I'm not really hesitating in how I rank. So you can feel free to disagree.
I agree.
You said this Thursday, and I definitely saw it Thursday night in the game. You talked about Jim Schwartz' defense, and not necessarily who would be out there, but a style of play and a certain attitude. Right. And you can see the attitude of the players that was out there put on display. So you got the Commanders versus Browns game this week. I'm pretty sure starters from both teams will play a little bit in this game. Are you excited to see that attitude transfer over to some guys that we were going to actually see in the regular season this Friday night?
Well, of course, Earl, of course, because even if these games, I mean, what are we going to really see out of the starters? Maybe 15 snaps, maybe 20 snaps, maybe like if one series goes really well, just the one series. But yes, you want to see a little bit of in practice. That's what's going to get the fans excited. That's what's like, oh, you know, everyone nationally is talking about which Deshaun Watson are we going to see. So fans want to see in that one drive, what do you see? But I think for the club, for the coaches, for the front office, what's more interesting is as you get later in the game and you have the guys that are clawing for roster spots or clawing for positioning, that's where you have a little bit more of your attitude, your approach, your aggressiveness. That could be the difference between whether you make this team or not. And so in some ways, Earl, I'd argue that the third and the fourth quarter are really sort of more intriguing than the first quarter. Because you definitely expect that out of Za'Darius Smith, and you're not signing Za'Darius Smith if you're not seeing that out of him. You expect that out of Dalvin Tomlinson, and it's almost more of a story if you didn't see it, and I just don't think we're not going to see it.
The biggest story is that Didi is going to be in studio Friday. That's biggest thing about Friday.
Didi, we'll see you Friday.
The biggest.
Are you bringing Nico?
Can't wait.
Or not?
Thanks
you don't
so
know
much
yet. Are you bringing Nico or you don't know yet?
I know. I don't think he's going to come with me.
All right, another time.
Because we've got the 2 nights. All right.
We'll see you Friday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Aditi.
Couple of quickies, and then I just want to read an email I got.
Before we do that, I got to get our last fast read in here. Aditi is the GOAT. She'll be on the call with Joe Thomas and Chris Rose on Friday as the Cleveland Browns take on the Washington Commanders on Friday night. We will have all your lead up to that on the show Friday, and we'll react to it on Monday, so make sure you keep it here locked in on UCSS for all your Browns coverage throughout the season.
A couple of things. Really, 2 quickies, and then I got to read this email. Number one, she mentioned Za'Darius Smith there. Cleve TA, if you don't follow him on Twitter, he's like the analytics guru of Cleveland, and yet he's one of the few non-homers in Cleveland. He said that if you look at Za'Darius Smith's pass rush win rate or some analytic that I can't even think of the name of maybe, that Za'Darius should be in store for a big sack year this year. Like his sacks were abnormally low based on some statistic, that there were 2 guys that were below the norm of what they should have done sack-wise, and Za'Darius Smith was one of them. Number 2, I texted Chris Fedor, who's the Cavs beat reporter, about, like who's getting the most minutes because of Rubio, and he did say Ty Jerome. However, he said, don't be so sure Rubio won't be here. Rubio stepped away from the national team. He said he might come back by the time the season starts or some point during it. So just because Rubio said he's stepping away doesn't mean he's not going to be back for the Cavs season.
Okay.
I think we all took it as he's missing the Cavs, but
if that's the case, then I totally mistook what he said. I thought he was stepping away indefinitely, but yeah, indefinitely.
All I can say is, this is what Chris said, I wouldn't bank on him being gone quite yet. Season is still months away.
Totally fair.
So there you go. Now, I wanted to read this email I got. Last week, I think it was on Tuesday, G and I got into a surprisingly heated conversation. He and I never really get into heated conversations. We debate, but it got a little heated about Deshaun Watson. I don't even know how it went down this road. And it was funny because apparently in the chat room there were a few people that called me racist. And usually when that happens, every once in a while, if you talk enough for 20 years, somebody's going to throw that out at you. And some people are racist. I know I'm not, right? And so I'm like, well, why would people think that? They know me. I've been talking on radio for 12 years. You know where I stand on things. Why would anybody think I was racist? And I got this email, and I thought it was really interesting and created a conversation that G and I had for about 10, 15 minutes off the air yesterday. And I just wanted to share this email with the audience. This is from Carolyn. She's a fan. She's a listener. And she reached out to me late last week. And this was the email. She said, regarding your question as to whether, because I made the statement that how could you believe that 22 people came up with a conspiracy together? It's just impossible for me to believe that. She said, regarding your question as to whether 20 or more women entered a conspiracy theory to extort money from Deshaun Watson, probably not. However, it is likely that individually they might conspire to use his naivete and ego to get paid. From the moment black men were brought here, white women have had their way with them, and when caught, cried rape. In modern times, black men have been accused of rape when they have been nowhere near the vicinity. I'm sure you've heard that many men have been released from prison in the era of DNA evidence. All that being said, as a black woman, I can say unequivocally that in Texas, where babies are pushed back into a river at the border, if there had been a hint of a possibility of a case against Watson, he would have been charged, tried, and likely convicted. I enjoy your show, and there has to be difference of opinion, but it's never a mistake to at least consider the other person's perspective. I hope the emotional exchange between you and G. Bush will not affect your relationship. Some folks will change their opinion of you based on this exchange, but that's not your problem. I just wanted to share an unemotional view of the other side. Go Browns. And I just wanted to quickly read my response to her. I said, Carolyn, I really appreciate you reaching out to me and sharing your thoughts. I think liberal white people like myself often think they can understand what black people go through in this country. And the truth is we cannot. I certainly may sympathize or try and feel your pain, but it is not the same thing. You are right about the fact that some people will look differently at me, and while I may think that is unfair, it is what it is. I've spent my whole career calling it like I see it, and as someone who grew up in a diverse area, unlike many people in Cleveland, I always try to look at things from all different angles. I can't even count how many times I've said on the air that there's a double standard with a lot of situations like this. The truth of the Deshaun Watson matter is probably somewhere in between. The stories on both sides, in between the stories on both sides. We will probably never know the truth. As for me and G. Bush, nothing has changed. But I sent that to her. I hadn't really talked about it. I just assumed that nothing had changed. And G and I talked about this email yesterday off the air. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but you and I had a really good conversation after this that I enjoyed. And I think the reason I brought this up is because I just wanted to say that no matter how sympathetic you may be to how other people are treated that are not you, you can never open your eyes enough. No matter how sympathetic and angry I might get that black people are treated shitty by a lot of people in America, and I may be sympathetic, but I can't walk in G's shoes. As much as I may want to try to or sympathize, I can't. And everybody's got a different perspective, and everybody should take that into account when commenting on anything. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like I'm rushing what I'm trying to say here, but
I'll let you go. Being Bull, I don't have no ill will. I think the best part of the show is that we can present different things out in the open. I know Bull personally. I've had meals with him. We talk off the air, online, whatever the case may be. And my relationship doesn't change over anything like that. Reflection is a good thing, and it just shows that Bull, a lot of people think that he's not open-minded, but for him to read that shows he is open-minded about a lot of different things and always reflecting it.
No, I just want to say I appreciate you, understanding that even though you sympathize and you empathize with us, you can't walk in our shoes every day and understand what we go through. So if I come off a little emotional sometimes,
never have to apologize for that. Sorry we got cut off. We're out of time. We'll see you in overtime.
That's fun in overtime. I promise.